Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're digging into something that feels, well, increasingly vital, but also incredibly hard to achieve these days. We're talking about deep work.
That's right. It's that ability, to really focus distraction-free on tasks that demand serious brain power.
Exactly. Like when you're wrestling with a complex problem or maybe learning a new, difficult skill, that state of intense concentration.
And we're pulling from quite a few places today, folks like Cal Newport, guides for businesses, for developers. They all seem to agree this deep focus is becoming a kind of superpower.
It really feels like it, especially with everything constantly vying for our attention.
And look, this isn't just about churning out more stuff. Our goal here is to unpack what deep work is, why it's so important. Think of better productivity, more creativity, even long-term growth, both for you personally and for teams.
And we'll get into some actual practical strategies you can use, right?
Yeah.
Because knowing it's important is one thing, but doing it,
Absolutely. We know how overwhelming the constant pings and notifications feel. So the mission is to pull out the really key insights, give you what you need to know without, adding to the noise.
okay, let's start there again. When we say deep work, what are we really talking about? Especially compared to, well, the stuff that fills up most of our days.
So Cal Newport's definition, and it pops up a lot in our sources, is basically this. It's about sustained concentration, no distractions, pushing your cognitive capabilities right to their limit.
Sustained, distraction-free.
Yeah.
Pushing your limits. Got it.
Yeah, carving out real time for one demanding thing. And the flip side is what gets called shallow work.
Ah, shallow work. That sounds familiar.
It probably does. Think firing off emails, quick social media checks, routine data entry, maybe some of those status update meetings that don't require deep thought.
The kind of tasks you can almost do on autopilot sometimes, or while juggling other things.
Precisely. The key difference is that shallow work often happens while you're distracted, or doesn't really demand intense focus.
Okay, so those are the necessary but not exactly value-creating tasks, maybe.
Well, they are necessary often to keep things ticking over. But yes, the consistent message is that deep work is where the real value gets created.
That's where the breakthroughs happen.
Exactly. Innovation, solving tough problems, producing genuinely high-quality output. That comes from deep work. It's becoming rarer, so it's becoming more valuable. Think about the difference. Hours spent switching between emails versus a solid block of time analyzing critical data.
The impact is just completely different. Okay, that makes sense. Deep work is where the magic happens, so to speak.
You could say that, yeah.
But let's dig into the why a bit more. Why is this focused effort so crucial? For us as individuals first.
Okay, individually, the benefits are pretty compelling. First off, productivity and quality, lots of sources mention this. Our brains just aren't built for multitasking effectively.
Right, I've heard that. It feels like you're doing more, but maybe you're not.
Exactly. Studies show it actually takes longer and you make more errors when you try to juggle tasks versus giving one thing your full attention. Deep work allows for that sustained focus, which naturally leads to better results. Fewer mistakes, higher quality output.
Makes sense. Less mental switching cost, I suppose. When you're really zoned in, you catch at things you might otherwise miss. What else?
Well, there's enhanced creativity and problem solving. That state of intense focus, sometimes called flow, when you lose track of time.
Oh yeah, definitely know that feeling.
That's when your mind can really immerse itself, make new connections, and often find those unexpected solutions. Plus, deep work helps you learn complex things much faster. Focused learning just sticks better, integrates more quickly.
So better work, more creative solutions, faster learning. That's already a strong case.
And there's more. Some sources even suggest that by tackling your most important work deeply, you actually gain more freedom with your time overall because you get the big stuff done more efficiently.
More control over time. That sounds amazing. Anything else on the personal front?
Yeah, there's also a boost to self-esteem and discipline. There's a real satisfaction in tackling something hard and seeing it through. And big picture, the ability to consistently produce high-value work through focus, that's a huge career advantage long-term.
Okay, clear benefits for the individual. How does this scale up? What about for teams, for whole organizations?
The positive effects ripple outwards. Organizations that foster deep work often see higher efficiency and fewer errors, kind of mirroring the individual benefits. They can also become, frankly, more desirable places to work.
Because people feel like they can actually get meaningful work done.
Exactly. People appreciate having the space to concentrate. Plus, you see better problem solving and more innovation at the team level. And people can focus, maybe even collaborate deeply without constant interruption. Better ideas emerge.
So it shifts the focus from just being busy, like you said, to actually producing quality.
Precisely. It's about higher quality output, not just activity. And ultimately, that tends to lead to higher employee satisfaction, too.
Okay, the case is strong. Deep work is clearly valuable. Now, the million-dollar question, how do we actually do it? How do we build this capacity individually and maybe help our teams do it too? The sources must have some practical advice here.
Oh, absolutely. Loads of it. We can break it down. First up, time management and scheduling are, well, fundamental.
Right, you can't just hope it happens.
No, you need to be intentional. Many sources stress establishing dedicated blocks of time just for deep work, like literally schedule 2 4 hours in your calendar, call it focus time or whatever works.
So you're protecting that time.
Yes. And signaling to others that you're unavailable for interruptions. Crucially, you also need to schedule the shallow work separately and breaks too. Don't let the little tasks constantly chip away at your focus blocks.
That idea of defragmenting the calendar really resonates, creating those longer stretches.
Exactly. It allows for that sustained thought. And there are different ways to approach structuring this, different philosophies mentioned.
Hey, but what?
Well, there's the monastic approach, basically minimizing shallow obligations almost entirely. Maybe not practical for everyone. Then bimodal, alternating between long, intense, deep work periods and more open periods.
Oh.
The rhythmic approach is often suggested as a good starting point. That's about building a regular daily habit. Same time each day, you do deep work.
Like a workout routine, but for focus.
Kind of, yeah. And then journalistic fitting deep work in whenever you can grab a block of time, which requires a lot of discipline. But planning your day, generally with time for concentration, meetings, admin, that's key.
And techniques like time blocking fit in here.
Definitely. Time blocking or time boxing, where you allocate specific time slots for specific tasks, are really practical ways to implement this. The big one. Minimizing distractions is non-negotiable. Part of it is the physical environment. Find a quiet space if you can. Use noise-canceling headphones, maybe some ambient sound or music if that helps you focus.
So control your sound environment.
Right. But often, the digital distractions are the worst offenders. Notifications are killer.
Tell me about it.
Turn them off.
What?
Seriously. Close unnecessary browser tabs. Use website and app blockers if you need to. It's about creating a digital fortress around your focus time.
Easier said than done sometimes, that urge to just quickly check.
It is, and that's part of the training. You have to actively fight that urge when you hit a tough spot or feel bored. Schedule your internet browsing time separately. Don't just default to it.
And what about interruptions from colleagues?
Communication is key there. You need to let people know when you need uninterrupted time, setting expectations clearly, maybe using status messages or just telling your team, hey, I'm focusing deeply for the next 2 hours.
Which leads us neatly into communication strategies overall. How can we communicate in ways that support deep work, not derail it?
A big theme is embracing asynchronous communication, or async, as the default.
Meaning not expecting an instant reply to everything.
Exactly. Send your message, your request, whatever, but don't assume the other person will drop everything to respond immediately. It allows everyone to manage their focus better and respond more thoughtfully when they do have time.
That requires a bit of a culture shift, though, doesn't it?
It can, yes, but it's powerful. Also, limiting email and chat during deep work blocks is crucial. Maybe check them only at specific times, not constantly.
Turn off the alerts for those too, I guess.
Absolutely. And meetings. Oh, meetings. The advice is generally have fewer of them. Make the ones you do have super effective, clear agenda, clear purpose. And seriously consider if a meeting is even needed, or if async updates could work instead.
Like a recorded update people watch on their own time.
Yeah, or a detailed shared document with feedback requested asynchronously. Less real-time interruption.
It really sounds like this goes beyond individual habits. It's about the whole team, the whole organization's culture.
It absolutely is. You need a culture that genuinely values and respects deep work. That means things like making those focus periods visible, maybe shared quiet times for the whole team.
So it's not just one person trying to swim against the tide.
Right. Encouraging people to actually block that time on their calendars is important. Thinking about office design, too, having designated quiet zones for focus alongside collaborative areas.
And leadership has a role.
Huge role. Leaders need to model this behavior themselves. If the boss is constantly interrupting or expecting instant replies, it undermines everything. Also, ensuring people have clear priorities and aren't stretched too thin across too many projects. You can't focus deeply if you're juggling 20 things.
That makes sense. And how you measure success matters too.
Definitely. Shifting from just looking at hours worked to looking at actual output and results reinforces the value of focused, quality work. And importantly, allowing downtime. People need to recharge. You can't be deep all the time. Destigmatizing breaks and rest is vital.
So it's scheduling, environment, communication, culture. What about mindset?
Yeah.
The internal aspect.
Crucial. You have to recognize that deep work is a skill. It needs training, like a muscle.
It won't just happen overnight.
No, it takes practice. And part of that practice is embracing boredom, strangely enough. Instead of instantly reaching for your phone when things get hard or slow, sit with it. Build that concentration stamina.
Develop rituals, maybe.
Yes. Rituals can be powerful cues for your brain. A specific location, a certain drink, a short routine before you start. Anything that signals it's focus time now. Setting clear, measurable goals for each session helps too. What do you want to accomplish in this block?
Keep yourself on track.
Exactly. And even things like productive meditation, like going for a walk and deliberately focusing your thoughts on solving one specific problem without distraction. That trains the focus muscle too.
Okay. And naturally, there are tools and techniques people can use to help with all this.
Tons of them. You've got your task management and time tracking tools, things like ClickUp or Hubstaff were mentioned as examples. Distraction blockers like browser extensions, those are pretty direct aids.
And broader productivity methods.
Yeah, established techniques can be adapted. Pomodoro, maybe with longer focus intervals than the standard 25 minutes. The Eisenhower box for prioritizing, GTD, Kanban boards, the 2-minute rule for small stuff. Eat the frog for tackling the big, scary task first. Find what works for you.
Any other interesting tools mentioned?
One neat idea was using voice recording and transcription tools. If you have an idea while you're deep in focus, you can quickly dictate it without fully breaking your flow to type it out.
Captures the thought without derailing the main task. Smart.
And AI, of course. Leveraging AI to automate some of those repetitive, shallow tasks can free up significant mental bandwidth for deeper thinking.
Makes sense. One thing we haven't touched on much but feels foundational is just basic physical well-being.
Oh, absolutely critical. You can't expect peak mental performance if you're neglecting the basics. Good sleep, regular exercise, decent nutrition, they all fuel your brain's ability to focus.
Your cognitive capacity depends on it.
Totally. And as we mentioned with culture, scheduling actual relaxation and breaks is non-negotiable. You need to recharge. Intense focus isn't sustainable 24/7.
Okay, this paints a very compelling picture for deep work.
Yeah.
But there's often another side, isn't there? One source brought up some counter-arguments, suggesting maybe deep work isn't the only answer.
Yes, that's important context. The case against deep work raised some really interesting points. It questioned whether too much isolation, like the extreme focus sometimes seen in places like the Institute for Advanced Study, might actually be detrimental.
How so?
Well, the argument is that it could lead you to work on the wrong problems or miss out on new ideas because you're not interacting enough with the real world, not bumping up against challenges and different perspectives from others. It mentioned people like Hamming and Feynman, suggesting that staying connected and engaged might lead to tackling more significant problems in the long run.
So being too deep could mean losing perspective or missing serendipitous connections.
Potentially. The article talked about the value of a soft zone, a more relaxed, open state where creativity can bubble up differently than in intense focus. It suggests maybe the ideal isn't just deep work, but finding a balance.
A balance between focused work and maybe more open, collaborative, or even just mulling things over time.
Exactly. It even hypothesized that this might be why successful companies often have founders with complementary styles. One who dives deep, another who connects broadly. So the takeaway isn't that deep work is bad, but that aiming for perfect, uninterrupted focus all the time might not be the ultimate goal. Progressive improvement, yes, but also recognizing the value of other ways of thinking and interacting.
That's a really helpful nuance.
Yeah.
It's not all or nothing. Find the right blend for the situation.
I think that's a good way to put it. So if we pull it all together from this deep dive.
Go for it.
Okay, deep work, that focused, distraction-free concentration is a seriously valuable skill in today's world. It boosts productivity, creativity, learning, success for individuals, and makes teams and organizations more effective and innovative.
But it doesn't just happen.
No, it takes intention. Smart time management, actively minimizing distractions, better communication habits, a supportive culture, the right mindset and habits, and using tools effectively.
And remembering that balance we just talked about. Deep work is powerful, but it needs to coexist with connection, collaboration, and even just letting your mind wander sometimes.
Absolutely. Which leads us to a final thought for you, the listener.
Like that.
Just consider this. What's one small, concrete step you could take, starting like tomorrow, to carve out just a little bit more focused time, even 15 or 30 minutes?
Just one small change.
Yeah, and just notice what impact it has, and maybe also reflect.
Well,
Does your current environment, your workplace, your habits actually help you focus deeply, or does it mostly hinder it? What tiny shift could make the biggest difference for you?